Hey guys, it's Rikki,
Hey y'all, it's Jessica.
and welcome to episode 3 of Girl Talk, the podcast for our blog, Tales of the Millennial Housewife, where we talk about anything and everything you ladies want and need to hear.
But before we get started, we want you to know that we don't cut and paste our audio. What you hear is actual conversation plus some random banter because we're girls and our brains go in multiple directions, or as we like to say here, real topics in real time.
Today we have a fun topic for you guys. It's wedding planning and bridal parties and just everything wedding, basically, which can be stressful but also fun. So we'll see where this conversation goes. But we thought it would be kind of a good flow to just have some questions that people normally ask while you're engaged or after you're married for advice, kind of go through, Jessica is married already, but I'm currently engaged, so we can kind of give perspective from both sides of it.
Yeah, kind of the good, the bad, the ugly, and the interesting. I guess would be a way to describe it.
So let's just jump right into the first question. We're going to start off with Jessica since, like I said, she is the one already married, and then we can kind of compare my answers to her afterwards. But let's just start out by telling everyone, how long did you and Morgan date before getting engaged? How long was the actual engagement? And then, let's do how old were you at the wedding?
Okay, so we got engaged on our 1-year anniversary in Disneyland. It was my dream. And we decided to have a 2-year engagement, one, because we were broke, and 2, because we did get engaged only knowing each other for a year. We knew that we wanted to be together, but obviously in that time frame, we still wanted to learn more about each other. You learn new things about each other every day, no matter how long you've been together. So we wanted to kind of give us a little time. And then I had just turned 22 and he was 23, going to be 24. So we were babies.
Technically some people will say you were babies, but like you said, you had a longer engagement, and
Mm-hmm.
when you know, I think it's more situational. There are some people that are 30 something when they meet their one, and then they get married 6 months later just because financially and life-wise they're ready. So it's
True.
cycle.
True, yeah. So I guess by the time that we got married, we'd been together for 3 years, so it wasn't too bad.
Right.
So what about you? How long have you guys been engaged? How long did it take him to propose? And how old are you guys going to be?
I love how we're asking each other these. We're asking from the point of the viewer, but as if we don't know it, it's so funny. So Brian and I dated for 3 years before he proposed. And he actually proposed on our 3-year anniversary, which, quick sidestep, is he told me, leading up, we had obviously talked about getting engaged and, wanting to get married by that point. And he always told me, you will never know when it's coming. It's not going to be cliche, so just don't even think about it. So I always thought, girl, it's going to be on a Taco Tuesday out of nowhere because he will not let me see it coming. Well, it almost worked because he had me so convinced it wouldn't be on a day like that I really thought nothing of it. But, we did go back to where we had our first date, and we hadn't been there any other anniversary, so, my suspicions were up. But, like I said, I just really didn't know because I was like, no, surely he wouldn't do it today, but he did.
Yeah, it was it got to the point of, hey, are your nails done? Because, he may just spring it on you just randomly, so just make sure that your nails are always done.
Exactly. And so we are engaged right now, so let's see, how long is my engagement going to be? It will have been literally a couple weeks past 2 years. So our 5-year anniversary is April 11th of 2020, and we're getting married May 2nd, 2020. So about a little over 2-year engagement, and so we'll have been together 5 years at our wedding, and I will be 25 years old, and he will be 29.
Old man up in here.
I know. Girl, that's a whole nother subject. He does not like hearing that.
Oh, goodness.
But so tell us a little bit, like an overview of the wedding, like what type of wedding you had as far as like location, your theme, if you had a theme you were following, guest count, and like time of year. Just like paint us a quick picture.
Okay, so our wedding date is August 27th, and originally it was supposed to be in October because I tried to make it easy, and I got proposed on our anniversary, so I was going to make our wedding on our anniversary. And then he reminded me that October in Crescent City, which is considered a rainforest, having an outside wedding probably wouldn't work out too well. So we changed it around and made it in August. So it was outdoors. It was pretty rustic, I guess would be a way to describe it. I had hay bales for seating. We had a bunch of burlap and purple and orange flowers. So it was very, I guess, going into that fall kind of feel. I invited way too many people, but I think maybe like 65, 70 showed up. So it wasn't too bad. But overall, I think that's about it. Just kind of towards the end of August and outside and hot.
Hot. Ooh, that's another story.
That's another story.
Into. Let me tell you. I mean, you had us in these tulle skirts, which they were fun, but in that heat, I was sweating. I was dying.
My makeup was running. It was horrible. I looked at the weather that morning, and it said like 65, 70 at most and overcast. And I was like, perfect. Like, it's not going to be too hot. We've got, you guys have kind of long sleeve shirts on plus the long tulle skirts. Like, I thought it was going to be fine. And then I'm walking down the aisle and it's 92 degrees and everyone's sweating, and it was interesting to say the least.
Girl, I have to throw this in. I tell people this all the time, but I don't think I've told you, but while we're on like how that day was. So not only was it hot, and I was the one standing right behind you, right? So I had your bouquet and your flower girl next to me, and there was a bee that literally landed on your back, and do you know it was right in the middle of the vows, and I'm standing up there, and people are looking, and I'm like, I cannot swat this bee off of her in the middle of her vows. Like, I can't. And little, extra tip, I'm allergic to bees. So then it starts flying on the bouquet. The flower girl's looking at me like, I swear she's about to run. And I'm like, if this stings me, do not throw the bouquet, Rikki. Do not throw the bouquet.
Oh my God.
I love you because I stood there still as a statue.
I remember you telling me about that, and you were like, Kaylee's looking at me and then looking at the dress, and we're both kind of looking at each other like, don't freak out, it's going to be fine.
But that is my most honorable maid of honor moment, I would say.
Okay, moving on. So, tell us about your wedding, when it's going to be, where it is, what your theme is, kind of give us the lowdown on what your day looks like.
Okay, well, my day has changed like 30,000 times.
Yep.
Long story short, our initial date was May 2nd, 2020, and then we got ahead of ourselves and we wanted to move it up. So I was supposed to be getting married October 19th of this year, and I was so stoked. I was going to have a fall wedding with pumpkins and all that jazz, but life happened. I almost died, and so we pushed it back out to May 2nd.
Just nonchalant. I almost died, so we pushed off the wedding.
Tune into our YouTube for my story time later. But so May 2nd, 2020, so that's spring/summer, whatever you want to call it, would be the time of year. And theme-wise, I'm just going with the season, just bright colors. I want it to feel really happy and like warm and inviting throughout the day, and then at night I kind of want to go into that summer like campfire feel with fairy lights and s'mores and people just gathered around talking. So that's the kind of feel I want. Guest count, we just recently kind of came to an agreement on that, and we're having, I think, total, like with Brian and I included, obviously, is like 45 people. So it's very small, which I like. I grew up thinking I'd want a huge wedding, and then you sit and think about it, and you're like, this is the most like intimate moment, where we like declare our love for each other. And the only people that need to be there are people that support your relationship the other 364 days of the year, which I know you agree with me on.
Yeah, so, definitely.
That's a little overview, I guess.
Yeah, I think that kind of sums up the way that you wanted it to be pretty well.
Yeah. So I guess that's how your day was, but what was planning it like? Like anything you wish you would have done different or sooner, or anything you like look back and you're like, oh, I didn't really need to focus on that, or I really wished I focused on that? Like, sum up your planning to get to that day.
Okay. So we had a 2-year engagement, or, just over 2 years. I think something that I would have changed is that we pretty much planned everything out like the day that we got back from Disneyland. You and I kind of just went on Pinterest and went crazy, and we're like, cool, we got everything planned.
We were excited.
Fast forward 6 months, and didn't do anything because I was like, oh, there's nothing really to do. And then it got to the point of, oh, we have a year left, and my anxiety is through the roof because I haven't really been paying attention to what I should be doing. So I guess having a strict schedule of when you need to buy flowers, when you need to book the venue, when you need to do this, like, it may seem very tedious, but literally write down everything, because otherwise it'll get away from you. If you have anxiety like me, you'd be having panic attacks every day. So just something that I want everyone else to kind of think about, if you are engaged or if you're almost to that point, just make a timeline, be OCD. Like, I wish that I would have taken more time to really think everything through and get things done on time. I guess for the day itself, like I said, I'm the type of person that's kind of controlling. So the day of, I wasn't allowed to be at the venue until an hour before getting married officially.
If that, it was like we got you in your tent, and like it was get on the dress, get ready, and then get down the aisle.
Yeah, which is totally fine, except I'm the control freak, and everyone else decorated for me just because that's what our venue allowed. We had to decorate the day of. And love my mother-in-law to death, but she kind of made me stay away. Oh, relax. Don't worry about anything. You just need to worry about getting married. Like, we'll take care of everything. I kind of wish that would have been different, but I'm thankful for all of the help that I did have. Honestly, it was great. So I guess, decorations weren't exactly as I wanted them, but they didn't look bad. And then the other thing was, which I know that you have the actual story because it was you in the situation, but we were taking our pictures and everyone started eating our food. So I guess
Yeah.
me not allowing myself to be the control freak that I am kind of derailed my day a little bit. So I guess just don't let anyone tell you how to run your wedding day, because at the end of the day, like, you know what you want it to be, and everyone else can kind of they just have to listen to you.
Right. And I think to your point, like, I'll just sum up really quickly. What had happened was Jessica and Morgan went to take, we had already taken the pictures with the bridal party with family, so they went, like, down to where there was
went to the river.
To take pictures by yourselves, and everyone was supposed to just, like, be up there mingling, and people were getting food out, which was supposed to just be, like, getting it out so when they returned, things were ready to be served. But everyone kind of took that as, oh, this must be cocktail hour, and when things were laid out, they just dug in. And I was like, ooh, I don't think this is supposed to be happening. But
well, and we had everyone make our food. So, like, my father-in-law was barbecuing. My mother-in-law made a bunch of different casserole dishes. So while we were taking pictures, she went to the house, because it was just down the street, and brought all of the food. Well, she was supposed to put it on, like, the back table and, like, keep all the foil on top of it to, like, keep it warm and everything. But she just, like, actually put it out on the table to serve the food. And I think people just kind of assumed, oh, well, it's there, like, might as well.
Right. And to your point where you were like, maybe I should have had more control, I would say, like, looking back, it should be where you shouldn't have to, but just make sure you really appoint someone that you have had long conversation with about how you want things, and make it clear to the people there, this is who is coordinating. When all else fails, they, like, listen to them because they are repeating what I want. And that maybe would have, could have at least
eliminated. Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of my day overall. It went really well. I mean, I think the heat was the only thing that I wish that I could actually change. I can deal with everything else, but that heat, I swear. So let's jump over to you. And like you had said, we had to change your date a couple of times. So kind of tell us how planning everything and then changing and then replanning, kind of tell us how you have been dealing with that.
I pride myself in being very flexible, and that's not to say that I haven't gotten really frustrated, because at the end of the day, that I'm one of those people that thought about their wedding and, like, getting married for a long time, but I've proven to myself that I can be very flexible. And so it's not, the dates changing and the theme changing doesn't really bother me that much, because I was like, I have a good idea for any time of the year, whatever one it may be.
But I think we had like 3 different themes for you.
Right. But it has been difficult because we did send out save the dates for the October wedding, and then had to go back on that. So you have to make sure that everyone knows it's not still happening then. And we wanted to cut our guest list down even more. And then you're like, oh my gosh, do I cut someone that already got, like, the initial save the date, but they know that we moved the wedding? So, I don't know. That's the part that stresses me out, is I have this, like, weird guilt of, like, who needs to be there and who doesn't, because we are keeping it so small. We're like, define how small we want it. Define family and close family friends. Because to me, I have a very small family, so the majority of mine is family friends, but Brian has a huge family, so, like, only 2 of his guests are actually friends. So planning for me, really, the details have been in the guest list and the budget, because we have changed the time of year. First we had no time, now we have a little more time, so it's like now I might be able to have more things I want, but still you can't predict how life will be then, so you don't want to overshoot your budget. So that's been my planning. And then you and I, we go on Pinterest and we have it all down. I mean, everything from what colors we want now, how we want to do the tables, what we want the aisle to be like, how we want the day to run, timeline. We have all of that planned. So, and that's the fun part of planning. So that's really not hard to do. Anyone, I think, that gets engaged will sit down with your best friends and you just run ideas by. So now I'm at the point where it's finding, like, prices of things. How much is the table and chair rentals? Where's our budget going? And really putting a price next to things so I know. And then, like you had mentioned, writing down when I need to pay for those things by. Is going to be important. So
yeah, definitely.
That's kind of where I am in the planning process. I have in my head, and like essentially I have it all planned. It's now just paying for things and when to pay for them.
Yeah, and actually, buying the decorations and I guess just putting things in motion now that we have everything figured out to what you want it to be.
Right. And so since I'm not far enough, I can't really say I wish I would have done anything different until we get to a later question about dress shopping, but we'll get there in a few. So moving forward, once again, let's move on to the bridal party. You and I are doing things two different ways when it comes to bridal parties. So tell us how you chose who was in your bridal party, like any drama around that, and just what your dynamic was. Like, what was the bridal party to you? And then also add in there, if you can remember, this is something I get a lot, is people saying, like, how important are your bridesmaids? Like, opinions to you? Do you feel like bridesmaids are there to serve the bride? Like, what is the purpose of a bridesmaid to you?
Yeah, okay, so how I chose, I guess, I didn't, like, we knew that obviously you were going to be in it, and we've been friends for so long, but I really didn't have any other, I guess you could say, best friends until, like, senior year. So the rest of my bridal party is all friends from school that I became really close with. You were at a different school that year, so that kind of made it, I guess, not easier to find different friends, but, like, I kind of had to.
Yeah, you had to branch out.
Exactly. So I think that's, like, the best way to describe it. I had, mostly just my best friends, the 6 close people. I guess drama that happened just really wasn't, like, that bad, but we were in the middle of our first, like, official fight.
I know. How did we make it that long, and then that is the time we have a fight? Like, are you kidding?
I mean, obviously, like, it was our longest fight, I guess you could say. Like, we've had arguments and stuff, but I guess it was just the longest time, to where we had kind of planned everything, and then as it got closer to, like, bridal shower and bachelorette party and, like, all that kind of stuff, my other bridesmaids kind of stepped up. And I had met one of my really good friends through work during that time, and she's actually getting married here soon. They just got engaged. So she kind of took over that time frame. And then I guess the other, like, dramatic thing that happened was I had to change my people again, because one of our good friends, Cammie, her grandfather passed away just a couple of days before the wedding, and the funeral ended up being on the same day. And she's calling me crying, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. The funeral's on the same day." And her parents are practically my parents. Like, we, they kind of took me in during that senior year. And even though I consider them family, like, I don't compare it to her grandfather dying. So I told her, like, don't worry about it. I will figure it out. Like, your family is way more important. Like, don't even worry. Thankfully, her outfit that she'd already bought for the wedding fit you. So we kind of was able to make that switch pretty easily. So I guess that was the biggest, like, dramatic drama situations with my bridal party. Overall, I really didn't have any issues. So then I guess going into the dynamic was everyone was super helpful. You know, you helped me plan, and then when we were going through our hard time, I kind of planned my own bridal shower just because it came up so fast, again, not having a better timeline of when things need to happen. And my other bridesmaids were like, we didn't know that you were planning this. So the day of, they came over to my house, grabbed everything, and decorated, you know, did everything else, and kind of made sure that I was enjoying and rather than planning. So that was super nice. You know, that everyone in my bridal party was super helpful with whatever I needed. And then I guess, you know, something that you said as a bridesmaid, I hate that word. It's not like they're there to serve you. Like, right. I'm not the queen, you are not my maid. I mean, no matter how much I want to believe that I'm a queen, that's not really what. Right. Moving on. But they definitely like should help. You know, like your bridesmaids are obviously the people that you know will help you through anything. Like that's why you chose them. And that kind of moves into like how opinionated they are about certain things and when they offer opinions. Obviously, like they are your bridesmaids for a reason. Like you should give them the decency of listening to their ideas and what they have to say. But I think those opinions also need to be taken, you know, with a grain of salt, depending on how you want your day to be. Obviously, like you respect their opinions, but at the end of the day, it's still your day. So I think having bridesmaids that are opinionated but don't overstep and tell you like, no, I don't like that. Like, well, that sucks. It's not your day. So, so yeah, I mean, they're not your servant, but they definitely should be helpful. Like that's what they're there for.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I guess that's kind of the overall for mine. You've had to deal with way more during your engagement with this particular subject. So you have a little bit more to talk about, I guess, talking about your bridesmaids, how you chose them, and like you said, you know, bridesmaid or just a, you know, helping hand, you know, opinions. Tell us all about that.
So I am just going to start out with this statement. Unless it is a friend that you have been friends with your whole life, you know what I mean, like where you know that they're stable, or it is family, and even then, you know, each case by case. Do not choose anybody until it is close enough that events and shopping and things are happening. That was my mistake. The minute I got engaged, I just, you know, you're so excited and you want to like gather those people and share. And so I picked the people that were closest to me at the time. That did not work out well because people change, people's priorities, where they are at in life. And if you're having a longer engagement like me, where it's 2 years long, you just never know. So I chose mine very early. I will not name names or name situations on this. I just will not do that to people. But I can say that throughout my engagement, a lot has happened to me. I was on chemotherapy. You know, we went in the middle of a move. We went through a really hard time. And so really life-changing events happened where, like, friendships and relationships were tested at the same time. And people dropped the ball for me. And that chemo changed my perspective on a lot. And I started to be like, you know what, if you're not wanting to be here for me and wanting to be a part of this, then I shouldn't give you the special treatment. So my opinions just changed. Luckily, now that we're closer, obviously you are in it. My cousin, my younger cousin is in it, and then Brian's sister is in it. Those are 3 people that have always been in it. Luckily, my sister is going to be in it as well. And now, Brian and I have decided that we don't want anyone standing up there with us. And that's not a tisk on, like, the people that have been there from the start. It's more
about you just want to be with him. Like, you don't care about everyone else, which is how it should be. Right,
and I really, like, that day should not be about who stands where. I don't want to have to worry about if someone can't make it. I like you said, with Cammie, with you, it's like things come up, and I just don't want that to be a stressor. I want our vows to be about me and him and I, sorry, and and that be that. But I'm still having a bridal party who will still walk down the aisle. He's still having a group of men, but they will walk down the aisle to their front row seat instead of standing by us. So that's kind of our dynamic, and also it made it to where our numbers don't have to be even. So the people that really have stepped up during those hard times and that I wish I would have asked in the first place, I now got to ask and bring in. So I have a really awesome group of ladies now where I don't feel pressured to, like, oh, I can't have her because Brian doesn't have enough people on his side, or whatever.
Which I had that issue.
Right.
Of trying to. So I think that your situation, I think this is the best way to fix it, I guess is the way to say. Yeah.
And going on to, like, the dynamic part, that's another thing where I think it really depends on the people you choose to have around you. The people in your life. There are people that I know that, like, if we go dress shopping or what, like, I want them there for the experience, but I probably take what they say with a grain of salt. And that's not being rude. It's just that's who it is. Like, you are someone, if I bring you somewhere, I know that you will speak to me from a place of wanting what's best for me. And so what you say might have more weight than someone else. I guess it just depends on the person. But I chose the people to be in my bridal party for a reason. And if I didn't care about what they felt or their opinion, they wouldn't be there in the first place. So, of course, I'm going to, if someone has a great idea or is like, oh, Rikki, like, this reminds me of you and Brian and this, just an idea of incorporating this to your day, of course I'm going to consider it. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you said, with me, like, I know, well, we've just been friends for so long. I know what you like. And so, like, it's not so much my opinion, but, like, I'm still giving you options because, like, I'm trying to help you give options or have options, And I think that that's something, like, with your planning, having everything on Pinterest and changing it multiple times. This last time I was like, we've changed it so many times. I don't know what you want, like what this new vision is. So I'm just going to post literally everything that I think you may like. And then I told you, I was like, comment or like that, pin. And if you don't like it, then I'll delete it. That way we can kind of figure out exactly what you're looking for. And opinions like that help rather than demean, I think, is how a bridesmaid should be. Whether you're the maid of honor or not, like, your opinion should help. It shouldn't be negative.
And here's the other thing, the word bridesmaid, like you said, no, you're not my maid. Like, I don't expect you to work for me, but you are the people that when that day comes, like, if something's going wrong or not to plan, that I have to lean on. So in that sense, you are supposed to, be there for the bride and do what you can for her to make her day run smoothly. Like, that's why you sign up to be in that situation. But if you're thinking, if you're a bride and you're thinking that, like, well, they're below me, like, no, it is your day by all means.
Do not be bridezilla.
It's your day, but remember that this is one day, and that day will pass, and how you treated them on that day might last a little longer.
Exactly.
So going on opinions in bridal parties, let's move on to dress shopping and give us when you found your dress, how it happened, who was with you, even though I already know this. Let's just go through it. Hopefully we can do this as fast as possible. So quick summary, ready, go.
Okay, so again, with our planning and with my situation, I think 3 months into being engaged, you and I were like, oh, let's go look at dresses. And so we were kind of walking around. We ended up making an appointment at David's Bridal I wanted to try on. I knew what I liked, but obviously never trying on bride dresses before. I wanted to see what looked good on me, what I didn't like compared to what I'd seen in pictures, and then what actually looks good. So overall, I think I tried on about 5 or 6 dresses, and I ended up buying a dress at that appointment, which I was not planning on doing. And I actually chose the first or second dress that I tried on, which I hear that it happens like that a lot. But, I love my dress and it was gorgeous and, all of that, but something that I kind of wish would have been different was I'm a girl. I want to try on a million dresses, even if I'm not going to wear them all.
Yeah.
So, I tried on a huge, gorgeous ball gown, even though I wasn't getting married in a church, but everyone wants their Cinderella moment, so I put one on.
Oh, cool.
I recommend that you do it too. But like I said, I only tried on 5 or 6 dresses at that appointment, and looking back, I wish that I would have gone to different boutiques instead of just David's Bridal, because like I said, I did find my dress, but who knows what other places may have had that I may have fallen in love with also. Right. So I think that's something just for everyone that is engaged. Don't feel like you have to buy a dress when you go shopping. I went shopping with a friend when I was in her wedding, and she didn't buy a dress when we went. She ended up going at a different time with just her mom and ended up finding a different dress, and it was gorgeous on her. So, I guess that's just something taken away from mine to kind of give a little insight to people or to women that are engaged and looking for dresses. Something else that I did was I wore my mom's dress for the reception, which I'm really glad. Like we said, it was 100 degrees, or at least it felt that way. And hers was less fabric. It was strapless, key length. It just felt more casual, which is what I wanted my reception to be. So that's kind of just how my shopping went, the dress that I found, and the day of. So you are going to have another appointment to find a wedding dress, which is good and bad. So tell us a little bit about your experiences.
So I had already found my dress back in January this year for my birthday. And long story short on that one, which I just realized I say long story short so much in this, but it's because I'm trying not to, go into a novel. But they ended up ordering the wrong dress. When I went in, we realized it was wrong. I was like, oh, no problem, because the wedding got moved back out now, so we have time, just reorder it. And they were like, it's discontinued. Sorry. So there went that. But you know what? It was a blessing in disguise, because when I went dress shopping and when I was going dress shopping, my body wasn't anywhere near what I wanted it to be, and neither was my mental state. I still had, they're beautiful dresses and you have fun, and I went to a few places, but nothing felt right. I feel like I just went with the one that felt most not wrong, and whatever would camouflage my body best and still be pretty. And that is not how you're supposed to look. And I'm not saying you can't at any size you can find that, but I just mentally couldn't. And so I'm happy now that I'm gonna go again. Actually, late October, I get to kind of have a do-over, and not many people do. So that's kind of nice. I did have a good group of people with me the first time, but there were people, like, you didn't get to go. You live a state away, obviously, and there was other people that didn't.
Well, like your mom, because she lived in a different state also at that time. So
yeah, and then
now you get to have her.
Other situations of people that didn't show up, and I always thought that wouldn't be a big deal, but it kind of is, and now that I get to do it over with all the people that I want there and feeling better about myself, I'm interested to see, if I get more emotional or things just start to be better, because they were beautiful dresses, but I just couldn't see it, and I wanted so badly to just put it on and be like, I don't have to cry, but I wanted to feel like a bride and feel like Brian was going to love it and that I was going to feel confident, and I didn't get that the first time. So that's kind of my experience. I can't really talk on the full thing yet, but I do want to vlog a little bit of the dress shopping experience this time and share it with everyone. So that will be cool.
Definitely. And kind of like we were talking about with your bridal party and being opinionated, I think this next time you'll have more help from your bridal party on picking a dress. Obviously, if you want feathers, I'm not going to tell you to not have feathers, but I'm going to tell you if it's not flattering, because obviously I want you to look your best. So kind of going back to that, opinions do matter in a sense when you're trying on a bride's dress, but obviously, you see it on Say Yes to the Dress all the time. The mom's buying it and she's like, no, you're going to have a poofy dress. And the girl's like, Mom, I'm 20 pounds. Like, I can't wear a big poofy dress. Like, it's just not going to work out. And the mom's like, I don't care. That's what you're wearing. And you're like, okay. So
and here's the thing is people didn't give me a lot of opinions when I went, and like, bless them, I knew it was because they just like wanted me to feel beautiful and wanted it to be my choice. And I think that's better than going the extreme opposite. Yeah. But also, I wish someone would have chimed in on something. You don't have to be like, oh, that's horrid, but you could be like, oh, that one accentuates your waist nicer, or this one really draws attention to your face. I really see you in it, because those are the things I want to know. I see what I see in the mirror, but I'm also trying to pick something that's going to wow everyone and wow Brian. So it's good to hear what other people think. So that's something where, going into this dress appointment, I'm just going to say from the start, please tell me, because I've already been through this. So let's do it right.
Yeah, exactly.
So the last thing, before we, give our little last bit of advice, is maybe we can try to do this in like one sentence. I don't know. But we'll try. What, being this is Tales of the Millennial Housewife, and if you haven't gotten the irony in that statement and how we really, why we picked that name, maybe we need to do something on that so people know.
Oh, we should.
But what was different, or I guess in my case will be different, about your wedding that would be considered more millennial or modern, and then like what was considered more traditional, or was it one or the other? Just give us like a brief statement.
Yeah, so mine was definitely both, I would say. It was modern in the way of I pretty much made all of my decorations, I guess is the way to put it. It was
DIY.
Exactly. It was very DIY. If I could find it on Pinterest, I was doing it. So I think that was more of like the modern millennial thing to do. But it was more traditional, in the sense of the overall day, how I wanted it to be. You and I were kind of talking about it. We didn't have those first look pictures, he saw me walking down the aisle, and that was the first time that he saw me. So I think that was something very traditional. But it wasn't traditional because I wasn't in a church. So, I mean, like I said, it's kind of, my wedding was kind of all over the place.
It was both. It was a good combination of both.
Yeah. So what's your vision for yours, I guess, because, you know, like you said, it hasn't happened yet. So is yours going to be more millennial and modern, or is it going to be more traditional? How do you want your day to be?
I would say millennial or modern in the same way of yours, is like it was very, it's going to be very much like DIY, and I want it to be when you walk in, you're like, oh, like, Rikki definitely did this, or you can tell this is their style. And, you know, traditionally, if you're married in a church or you have more of like a ballroom setting, you know, you can almost predict what it's going to be. Not that that's a bad thing. They're gorgeous, but ours is very personal to us, as was yours. And as far as traditional, the actual, like, what the precedent of it is very traditional. We will not be staying together the night before. He will not see me that day until I walk down the aisle. No first look pictures. His first look is when I walk down that aisle, and he better cry.
Girl, you know it, because Morgan did, and I got pictures of that. So I mean, that's my first look pictures.
So that's very traditional in how the day runs and how we prepare for it, and like the overall wedding. We're not eloping, you know, so traditional in that sense, but modern and millennial in that we're making it very much our own. So
yeah, definitely.
Lastly, let's give one piece of advice to someone who just got engaged. If you could tell them one thing, what would it be?
So my bit of advice that I would do is to actually involve, like, your fiance, because you know, it's your day, but like it's his day too. And I think that that's something that you should really think about when you're choosing certain things, because I know there was some things where I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And Morgan was like, no, I don't really like that. So I think that that's something, you know, like my one bit of advice is, like, you may like it, but it's not just your day. Like, it's your partner's day too. So make sure that he approves of it too. No one else needs to approve, but at least
that you and I have opinionated men. Not everyone does, and I get that. But I think overall, you're saying, like, even if they're not, at least invite them to have an opinion. You know, run it by them. If there's someone that really just is like, do whatever you want, then cool. But, you know, at least sharing your ideas, I think that makes it more special.
Exactly. So what about you? What would be your advice to someone that just got engaged or is planning?
My piece of advice, and I will stick by this, I need to follow my own advice, is that take the engagement as the chapter it is in your life. I got engaged and immediately thought of the wedding day, and then was like, and I want a house right after, and when do I want kids? Do I want kids? Should we try right after the wedding? Should we not? And this whole engagement has been, you know, we went through a lot, and so, like, I haven't, up until this point, gotten to sit down and be like, I'm engaged. Let me just be happy about being engaged, because life is going to go forward either way. Those times are going to get there. The wedding day is going to get there. The having kids is going to get there. But I don't want to look back and be like, why didn't I just enjoy the moment? And that's like life, you know, live in the moment. But I would just say, be really happy to be engaged and enjoy planning and enjoy that. And then once that day comes and you've enjoyed that day, then move on to other things in life. And it's okay to have ideas of what you want, but try really hard not to rush past this, because hopefully you're only engaged once, and it's not going to come back. This is supposed to be a great time, and just take that for what it is.
Yeah, and I think that's great, because, you know, your wedding day is just a day, but, like, being engaged, you know, however long it is, like, that's a whole experience. of being engaged and getting to plan the wedding. And like you said, hopefully it only happens once. I know that that's not everyone's situation, but just being able to be in the moment that you're in. Like you said, you know, it's something that you really want to work on, and it's something that I need to work on too. And every day is just being in the moment, not worrying about what's coming. You know. So.
Well, I think with that wraps up episode 3 of Girl Talk. So thank you guys so much for we made it through in under an hour. Hallelujah.
Woo!
So thank you guys so much. For those of you listening, the views have been going up. It's a slow but steady journey, and we hope that you guys are enjoying the content. But we would love if you guys gave us some ideas too, and I'll let Jessica touch on that a little more. But throughout the rest of the week, make sure you are following the rest of our blog on Instagram, Tales of the Millennial Housewife, or on our actual blog site to read our full posts, talesofthemillennialhousewife.com.
Yeah, and if you don't have Instagram or anything like that, or maybe you don't want to actually go to YouTube, which I understand, on our website, it has all of our posts as well as a place to subscribe to our YouTube. And I figured out a way to post our videos on there, so it has its own page. So while you're reading other things, you can kind of bounce around and listen to our podcast there. But of course, we would love it if you would, subscribe and then hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on our episodes. We took a break last week, so we're back now. And then, like Rikki said, comment if you have any topics that you want us to cover, because Girl Talk is for everyone. So it literally can be anything. So give us ideas. So I think that's it, and we'll talk to you guys next week on
Girl Talk.